Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome to another edition of Dungeons and Discussions, and I'm your t-shirted historian, together with my co-host Grim and my panel of really fun gaming experts. Should I put that in air quotes? I don't know, but
yes.
Yes, okay. Before we get started today, I've got a couple of quick announcements / call outs. First off, I want to congratulate the Basic Expert for hitting 1,000 subs. Good job, dude. Good job, man. I hope this is a long and successful YouTube career for you. I'm still fighting my way to 1,000, so I'll get there someday. But for right now, man, hey, enjoy your fruits of your victory, and I hope to see your show later on tonight. Or wait a minute, it's yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm already a day behind. I've had 2 hours of sleep. Sorry. The other thing is, wanted to kind of set the record straight. Some folks were a little bit concerned about some remarks that Joe from Biggest Geekus made the other night on Legion of Myths channel. It turns out he was in error, and people make mistakes. I don't have sex workers on my show. I never have. I would like to someday, maybe. That would be fun, I think. But until that happens, my show is pretty sex worker free. And that's okay. A lot of people were upset about it. They thought that Joe was dissing me and my show and everything, and I don't take it that way. I took it as a laugh. And he's apologized, and it's not really a big deal. In fact, I'm looking forward to having Joe on the show, hopefully Saturday or some other time. I do support him. I do support what he's trying to do by opening up a competing shop. So, we love Biggest Geekus. We love everything that Randy and Joe do, and we're happy to support them. And there's no problem between us and them. So any rumors to that effect are just rumors and bullshit, guys. So take it with a grain of salt. So you can't split us up that way. You're going to have to try a little harder. All right. And here we are with our special guest, Venger Satanis. Dun, 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 dun. The most evil man in gaming. Or wait, that's Varg Vikernes. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh! Although some folks would like to lump you two guys together, and I don't get that, because it's like you're hardly anything like him. So,
yeah, that's a weird comparison, but yeah, some people just lump everybody right up center in with the far right fringes, extremists. For that, to them, it's all the same. So. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. If you only have 2 categories, and I'm not a leftist, then sometimes I get put in that other category, which is weird because, I don't think I have a lot in common with him. I have more in common with people like RPG Pundit, and a lot of people in the OSR. But yeah, that doesn't make us racists or Nazis or whatever.
No. I mean, you're in good company, I suppose. I think, Grim and I have both been ground under the heel of the wokest at one point or another, and Grim is pretty extreme left, and I'm mostly left. But I still have a few things I really enjoy, like my Second Amendment rights, because I like the good feel of a firearm in my hands.
Yeah, but you're also from Texas, so that doesn't mean anything.
That's also true. Yeah, Texas, where we're actually sort of, kind of, mostly, almost free. Okay, so I think the number one tip I think everybody wants to know from you right now, the big question on everybody's mind is, Venger, what are your hair care tips?
Well, the same kind of razor that I use on my face, I use on my head probably 2-3 times a week, depending how lazy I feel.
There you go. There you go. No, I'm just joking with you, man. Hey, you're just coming off of Vengercon, which is your own
Yes.
con. How did that go?
That went really good. Yeah, everybody came up to me and was like, "This is actually really fun, and it's awesome, and you're doing a great job." And on the last day, people were talking about other gaming conventions, and one guy who was from Canada was just like, "I just want one real fucking like gaming con," and he was like, "Yours is the closest I found, because otherwise it's woke stuff, or like prom king and queen like walking around, like that's the highlight of some sort of like OSR based gaming convention, or there's too many people and it's not about the gaming, it's about LARPing and cosplaying and card games and board games and computer games, and the actual people that are physically role playing is maybe like 10% of the convention, like Gen Con or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many dealers and people selling stuff, and Vengercon was meant to be like just about the gaming. There really wasn't anything else to do except game and eat and drink and talk to people. And so that's what we did the whole weekend. So it was pretty fantastic. Yeah, a lot of people said it was awesome and that they want to do another one. They want me to have another one, so I probably will. I haven't officially announced anything yet, but maybe sometime next week. When I'm also waiting a little on information from the hotel. They think that they have that weekend free next year, so I'm just kind of making sure everything is solidified before I say, like, yes, Vengercon 2 is a thing, and it's this date and here. So I'll probably make an announcement about that next week.
Okay.
What sort of ballpark of attendees did you have?
Right around 25. Might have been 26, 27 people, which is, pretty small. When I first announced, like 9 months ago, I was thinking I might get up to 100. Didn't want any more than that for the first one. Was hoping I would get like at least 40 or 50, but I fell significantly short of that. That's probably for a couple different reasons. I'm sort of a pariah in my own hometown. That's probably one of the reasons. Just because wokeness, primarily. People hear about Venger Satanis and they think, they believe this negative hype that, I don't know, that I'm a ist and a phobe, and I don't know whatever rumors circulate and whatever people believe, that's kind of out of my control. But I mean, a lot of the attendees were from all over. Canada, San Francisco, Rochester, New York, Toledo, Ohio, Michigan. So yeah, not a lot of people from Wisconsin. Some people, like there was a handful, maybe like 7-8 people from Wisconsin, which is the state that it's held in and where I live. But yeah, maybe that'll change next year. That would be nice.
Well, for a first go, a new thing, and considering all the issues you've had, I don't think that's bad at all. And it's word of mouth that really builds up the small conventions, and it sounds like you got positive feedback. So
yes.
It looked fun, man. I wish I could have been there, but that's like all the way across the country for me.
I know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have pictures up on Twitter and my blog. So I should have taken a little bit more pictures. Other people took pictures too. I should have taken a little bit more. I should have done more videos. I did one sort of like testimonial video that I put up on my channel like the last day of the convention. I should have been doing more of that, but I just kind of didn't. I mean, everything was just coming at me, and I was kind of anxious and nervous about it. But yeah, it was successful, so I can't complain.
That's cool, man. Yeah, and the nice announcement was like just before you left, it's like you got your copies of Chartreuse.
That's right.
Or not,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I'll get one.
Yeah.
Just happen to have one right here. Yeah, Schultz Chartreuse Shadows.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I'll take that one right there.
Okay. Yeah, I literally got them 2 days. I mean, the convention was on this past Friday, and I got it on Wednesday. 2 pallets of books that are now stored in my garage, and I'm slowly bringing them down to the basement where I've got my shipping center, and I'm starting to send them out today. So that's going to take me a good 2, 3, 4 weeks to get all the Kickstarter backers their books, and the people intervening that have ordered one. And then once that's done, then I can breathe a sigh of relief on that front. And I don't know. And then probably work on maybe publishing some more smaller adventures. And who knows?
Yeah, everything is kind of fun with you. You have like everything is color coded. Like they got chartreuse and fuchsia and blue, and
Yeah.
So what's the next color gonna be?
I don't know.
I'm gonna throw my hat in for mauve.
Mauve.
Yeah.
Yes. All good colors. Yeah, mauve, magenta, periwinkle, everything in that kind of zone is awesome. Yeah, I got Crimson Dragon Slayer. That's in there.
Yeah, see, it's all got color names, and
the islands of
Utopia.
purple haunted putrescence.
Yeah, I love it because it does. It does. I know it sounds funny, but it kind of does bring a little bit of literary curiosity to it, and I like that. I mean, I guess it's better than just calling it, like Lake, Monroe or something, but
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. I always like to see what people come up with as far as game world names, and some people, they're trying too hard. Whenever you see stuff like Demon Spine Mountains and all that stuff, I'm just kind of like, oh God, please, you're so edgy.
Yeah, that reminds me of the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where they, I think it's Thor says, "Yes, my new weapon has a name, Stormbreaker." And I think the raccoon is like, that's a bit much.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to get you on here. I've been wanting you on here for a while because I've always had all these questions. The first time I came across you and your name, somebody had, I forget where, but I came across it posted up, and people were talking about, oh yeah, there's this kook named Venger Satanis, and he's got a satanic lifestyle, and he really believes he's a priest and casts spells and all this other stuff. And I'm just kind of like, what? So I got up on your blog and started reading through it, and I'm kind of like, well, he seems like a normal kind of guy. And then I found you on YouTube, and I'm kind of like, well, he really seems like kind of a normal guy. He's not, demons and shit aren't spewing from his mouth every time he speaks or anything. So he's I think he puts his underwear on one leg at a time, like I do.
That's true. I do. I don't know. I'm both normal and abnormal simultaneously, I guess.
I
mean, I have kind of a normal lifestyle where I've a wife and kids, and I live in a house and in like the suburbs. But at the same time, I do believe in magic, and I do practice the occult, and the stuff I put out gaming wise is probably not for any sane self-publisher. Yeah, a lot of people think it's crazy. Some of the stuff is crazy. Some of the stuff I do or that I believe or that I write about. But I'm also just a normal person.
That may be something that is different from today's players from yesterday's players, because a lot of guys who played from my generation, and I'm almost 49, did, I won't say I really studied the occult a lot, but I've dabbled with it a little bit like that. I've read Crowley. I do use tarot decks with my gaming. And I do have a little bit of an occultist background, but not not to the level of, like, say, Pundit has a much greater range of it than I do. And I think Grim has probably read up on some of it too.
From a skeptical viewpoint.
Yeah, from a skeptical viewpoint. I think today's kids don't really do that much research into it. They don't really,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they just take the books as they're written, and they don't really take it any further, if Pundit's correct. Which I don't know what that says for the Radiant Citadel. Yeah.
Well, I think it's not something that the majority is either interested in or is ready for. Just like in my younger days, I thought that, in my younger days, I was, more inclined to Grimm's, worldview. And, I went, especially when I was, I remember when I was visiting New Mexico, either with my parents or kind of living there here and there on my own. I would get Anarchy Today magazine, and I would read through it. And, if they would recommend books, I would read those along with other occult books and Nietzsche, and rereading Lovecraft and Anton LaVey and stuff like that. And I thought that the vast majority of humanity was ready for, being wild and reveling and kicking off their shoes and throwing off the constraints of Western civilization and culture, and we could just do whatever we want and make our own reality. And then I realized, and then I grew up a little bit, and the misanthrope in me came out more so, and I kind of realized that, according to my worldview, that things like socialism and the occult, like on a wide scale, people couldn't handle it. Or, generally, I think the majority of people are either, lazy, stupid, just like bad, or whatever. And that's not for them. And if everybody just kind of did whatever the fuck they wanted to, we'd probably be in slightly worse shape than the world currently is.
That's probably true.
So I kind of like, and that kind of like pushed me towards conservatism a little bit, especially with the way the political winds shifted, where the people on the right were for free speech and the people on the left suddenly were for giant corporations and telling people what they can and can't do, and censorship. And so, somehow an old school libertarian and liberal like myself became a conservative. What do you do? And and now I'm here, a champion of the right wing. which is weird for me, but I have a family now. I mean, that's definitely affected my perspective. I just don't want to go out and get shot or shot at, or have my kids, affected by whatever's going on in society. So yeah, I'm kind of like caught in this weird space between being like a wild-eyed, anarchic devil worshiper and kind of a mainstream conservative suburbanite with kids who, just wants some peace and quiet and to get on with my life without, I don't know, people pooping on the sidewalk and, shooting at me and stepping over syringes and needles and, people on heroin asking me for $1 or they'll just like shiv me or something. So yeah, it's a crazy world. Just trying to make my way in it. Yeah.
Aren't we getting the censorship from both sides now, though? Really, I've sensed a shift that the right wing are exerting their power more to censor things like school curricula, or to, I mean, some LGBTQ stuff. Some of the activists definitely go a bit too far, but then the reaction to them seems to have gone a bit too far as well. So, I mean, where's that got you at the moment? I mean, like you, I reject censorship from any side. But is that starting to make you feel awkward as a conservative now as well?
I mean, I haven't given a lot of thoughts because I think you're absolutely right. But the way I sort of contextualize it, the right's kind of ceded power, at least with like the cultural authority over the last many decades. They kind of they kind of gave some pushback, like, no, you're going too far and slippery slope and stuff like that. But conservatives, Republicans, especially libertarians, they were like, well, as long as you're not like actively hurting anyone else, consenting adults can kind of do what they want. People can believe what they want. People can teach what they want, and they had a hands-off approach. And now they're realizing that if they want any chance at all of preserving their culture or what they believe is Western civilization, they need to take a more active approach in fighting back against the more radical elements of the left. And so in that context, I'm okay with taking certain books or teachings or ideologies out of the classroom, especially like elementary, grade school, middle school. I mean, at high school, I think you can open it up a little bit more. In college, I think in universities, you have even more leeway. But I certainly don't want, my kid who's like in third grade to learn about, various sexual, things and gender ideology and stuff like that. So in that context, I'm all for the censorship on the right, because I feel like they're doing it to either keep things the way they are or keep them from going off a cliff. And I can kind of see that cliff because the last couple of years have been the craziest and the most unhinged that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. All you have to do is go to libs of TikTok and see the kind of like batshit craziness that's going on. And I could totally understand why conservatives are taking books out of classrooms and elementary school libraries and that whole thing.
I understand some of it, but some of the books they choose to take out are just like for reasons are just kind of asinine. But you know, I don't
And
get
I
to
don't know
make those
every case.
decisions.
So yeah,
Mhm.
some might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I
Yeah.
don't know. You know, I can't like tell you like, well, this textbook was taken out because of this. I don't know all the ins and outs. I just the big picture from what I'm hearing and what I've kind of internalized is that I don't know specifics.
Yeah. I was just wondering whether you were starting to feel a bit wary because, you know, we both like sleazy kind
Right.
of stuff in our
Right.
games and so on.
Yeah,
And it tends to be
comes
the
to
right
that,
that goes after that. Yeah.
right. And in the 80s, I think it was kind of our duty to push back against
Yeah.
the right and the moral majority and
Mhm.
evangelical Christians, because what they were doing with the heavy metal music and the video games
Oh
and
yeah.
the satanic panic with the role playing games, you know, I think we could all agree that was
Yeah.
bananas and that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And everybody that pushed back against that should be commended for doing that because that's what was needed at the time. But I don't see that kind of thing now. But I'm not ruling it out that it's not going to happen a decade or 15 years from now. You know, maybe that's coming back. And at that point, I will be more than happy to push back against the right and conservatism if they go in that direction way too far. Like even conservatives now, they're like, well, maybe we should, maybe we should ban porn and things like that. And I'm like, nope,
Nope.
that's too far. I'm not going along with that. That's about the only thing proposed that on some people of the far right that I would say, but if it happens like that, and because I'm going to do what I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to occasionally make stuff that's off color and humorous and sleazy and violent and gory and not at all politically correct.
And we love it.
Yeah, and any side that fights me on that, I'm going to fight back against them. I'm going to struggle against that kind of censorship. And I don't care where it's coming from. I don't care if it's coming from the left, if it's coming from the right. So it just depends on what happens politically and where the culture is. I'm going to keep, making stuff. And I'm going to keep fighting against that kind of censorship, no matter who is involved. I'm not so partisan where I'm like, well, the conservatives that I'm kind of in league with now, you know, they're against, showing too much blood. So I guess I'm not going to do that. No, fuck that. Yeah, I don't care who you are. If you try to censor me and everybody around me, like the culture, then yeah, I'll fight against that.
Yeah, and these days I tend to, as sad as it is to say, it seems like role-playing games these days are less under siege from without than they are from within by the people who are producing material for it. And I'm not talking about anybody on this particular panel,
Right.
but just from coming down from the company itself and from external forces that seem to be aligned with what Wizards of the Coast is doing these days.
That itch.io platform that had that bundle, they called out Grim, they called out me and Pundit. I know Grim fought back against some of that and got them to retract a little bit. I don't know if you threatened to sue them or what. I was just glad for the name recognition. To be honest with you, I was like, no, keep my name up there because I want people to know that I'm bad and I'm dangerous and I'm coming for your candy-colored blue sky, everybody smiling, wheelchair accessible dungeons. Because I don't have anything against handicapped people or wheelchairs, but that whole we have to make everything safe for the 5-year-olds, unless they think that they might be the boys might be girls, and then immediately we have to take them in the back room and chop off their genitals and do whatever. But other than that, everything has to be for 5-year-olds or younger. No mature content, no edginess, take no risks. Obviously I'm against that because that's not D&D. That's not anything that I would want to play or be associated with. That's just garbage.
OSHA-approved dungeons.
Like the Radiant Citadel and all that stuff. That's like the furthest thing away from role-playing experiences that I want.
Oh, I'm sure John and I both are both not real happy about the Radiant Citadel because of both of us being Hispanics. It's such a slap in the face to, for them to be crowing about, oh, this is an all POC product. It was made by POCs and all this. So I'm kind of like saying, so what are you trying to say that like Latinos and Hispanics can't be successful without having a special format with special hiring rules and practices applied to them for a project?
Right. And how far are they going to take it? Are they going to have a new race with D&D 6th edition, like the Latinx or whatever?
Oh God, no. Oh.
I just saw an illustration that showed like a Dia de los Muertos festival kind of thing, and it was to me it was stupid to see like the Lord of the Mictlan there, and I'm like, okay, well this doesn't really jive. My problem was that this doesn't really jive with your world you're creating, because if Mictlan is real, that means like human sacrifice and these other aspects of Mesoamerican culture are real.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem like something WotC wants to support.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense outside of all of the baggage that comes with that. So they're just using Mesoamerican culture as a costume, and then condemning other people for using it as a costume.
Exactly.
Didn't they come up with like not wizards, but back in TSR days, didn't they come up with like a Mastica?
Yeah,
Mastica. Yeah.
It was an expansion for Forgotten Realms.
Okay. But that one was actually fun.
Yeah. Was it cool?
Yeah, it was cool. You could, I think you could still actually buy that one.
Really?
Through Drive-Thru RPG, I believe.
With the conquistadors colonizing a new continent, they're still selling that?
I think so.
They have the warning on it, but
print.
I'm sure they have a warning. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it's gonna have a warning on it. Yeah.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah.
And I know that Oriental Adventures they will not do print on demand on that one because it's too offensive. So I'm surprised that if they will let you do it with Mastica. Now I'm curious. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
But panel, you guys got some questions for Venger?
Well, I was just gonna say about like the whole the threat is from within. I think that's true across geek spaces in general, like video games, like all that stuff. But one benefit that we have with tabletop games is at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of friends sitting around the table, just making up their own stuff. You can buy the Radiant Citadel and completely ignore all the woke stuff and just run it however you want. You can't really do that with a video game that's like pre-programmed,
right.
like it's on rails, like the characters are written a certain way, unless you're like, a modder or whatever. Like you can't really like change them, but I can just run the Radiant Citadel tomorrow and be like, I'm gonna like oust these guys. I'm gonna like take over like this awful socialist government because I think they're like oppressive.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's the kind of like slap in the face for old school gamers that don't, just hearing about like, oh, this is how we want you to use the content. They're like, whoa, what? This content is not what I signed up for with D&D. And then also, I think just giving money to Wizards of the Coast, just kind of, it feels like it's enabling them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, you could buy it or just use the ideas that you've seen on the internet and then internalize that and then do the opposite of what they would want you to do, which is like, you invade the Radiant Citadel in terms of like taking it over and enslaving everybody that doesn't like escape to the hinterlands or whatever, or that hasn't been killed. But of course, yeah, they're not gonna want that. And if you post that online, oh my God, you're gonna get so much hate. So many people are gonna, burn effigies of you in various forums and on platforms like Twitter. That's, I don't know. Maybe that's something we should do. Definitely get people talking.
And Max, it's 2022. You don't have to buy things if you don't want to.
That's true.
That's always the too good.
That's true.
We here at Dungeons and Discussions do not promote the use of illegal pirating activity for your role-playing needs.
Yeah.
However, it does exist.
In Minecraft, I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, Maztica is you can get it up on Drive-Thru RPG with the disclaimer on it. And it's not print on demand, but that's not that unusual. There's a lot of stuff that's not print on demand. That's old school.
There's absolutely nothing to stop you printing and binding your own copies. You can even do it through Lulu if you limit it to just for you. So long as you own a PDF and their system will ingest it, you can get your own printed copy, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's completely legal.
Well, apparently Max got banned from Lulu for printing a Steve Jackson
games. Yeah, GURPS. No. He tried to print out GURPS, and they said something about it was his IP. Yeah, see, they terminated his account.
I've had no issues.
Yeah, so
I did that one time. I uploaded a PDF of the Star Wars re-up, which is just like a fan-made project of like the West End game Star Wars, but incorporated all of this extra lore that people like fans created, or they got from various places, and they compiled it together in this giant, like 400-page book. And just for my own personal copy, I did that through Lulu. Didn't have a problem with it. I still have it. So yeah, it's definitely possible.
I didn't know about that, Legion.
Well, so long as you legally own the PDF, you should be allowed to print it. But I don't know. I've had no issues.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if Kinko's is still in business. Maybe you could always see if you could get it printed there. But
that sounds like a BDSM shop.
Kinko's?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they closed down. I don't know.
I think a place near me was Kinko's, and then it was FedEx Kinko's, and I think now it's just FedEx, like Office or something.
I think that's what happened to mine too, here locally. Yeah,
I don't know if you need permission or not. I usually don't get any static from those people, but I think there was one time a couple of years ago when they asked me, like, do I have permission to print out this map or print out this PDF or something like that? And I told them, like, well, I'm the author, it's mine. And they're like, oh, okay.
I am kind of curious. You've been running games all this last weekend. Is it mostly been OSR games, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I was of two minds about it, and I just decided to run Chult using my own Crimson Dragon Slayer D20 to run it the entire weekend.
Oh, okay.
And that's just what I decided to do. I thought about running like a variety of different games, but I knew that I would have a lot on my plate, and I would have drop-ins all the time, and people like suddenly leaving because they played with me for like 2 or 3 hours, and then they had to get to the next game, and then these other people wanted to play for 2 or 3 hours more. And since I'm the most familiar and the most comfortable with Chult and my own system, the Crimson Dragon Slayer D20, I just decided to do that the entire weekend, just to make it easier on myself. And I think that worked out pretty well. I hope nobody was disappointed that on the schedule it looks like I'm running Alpha Blue, but they come in and it's Chult. But there's some overlap. So, nobody told me like, oh, damn it, I really wanted to do that, and now you're doing this, and that's pissed me off. Nobody told me that, so I hope nobody was upset. But I think it worked out pretty good for the majority, if not everybody. So, yeah.
Oh, Snortopoopas, man, you're pulling out the old school Land of the Rising Sun. I remember that one with Chivalry and Sorcery. Yeah, I think you can actually still get copies of Chivalry and Sorcery. It's, the same people who print out Man, Myth, and Magic and Misty Isles. So that's pretty cool. Land of the Rising Sun, man, that's a long time ago.
Well, that whole hatred against Oriental Adventures was started by a single podcast, and I actually argued with those guys on Twitter when that happened, and they were basically just shilling their own book. That was like the whole reason. Yeah,
they were basically trying to make their own setting, and they were trying to eliminate competition.
Yep.
If people had a spine, things like that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't take like one or a handful of people saying, "I'm offended," to take something down or put up warning labels everywhere, or create safety rooms where people can get free hugs because life is so hard and cruel. But yeah, everybody's just so pussified that all it takes is one person to raise a fuss, and then all of a sudden, people come out of the woodwork, or people, companies bend over backwards to satisfy those, 3 or 4 people, and suddenly you're disenfranchising 300 or 400, and it's just like, why? If you just grew a spine and stood up to people,
exactly,
especially the woke people, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, it's not enough that they don't want it for themselves; they don't want it for anybody.
Right.
But that seems to be the case with everything, from all the way from the 80s to now. I mean, because back then, if somebody didn't like rock and roll music or they didn't like heavy metal music and everything, they tried to get the stations to stop playing it, and they tried to get parents outraged against it. And same thing with Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe they saw or played a Dungeons and Dragons session, didn't like it, didn't understand it, didn't get into it, so they don't want anybody to enjoy it.
Right.
They have to make up all this bullshit about it. I don't know what the case is, but it's almost like people just have this burning need to be correct and justified in the way that they perceive and think and feel about things.
I would guess that they have either so little going on in their own lives, or somehow they feel so powerless or empty that they feel better about themselves by exerting their own power by proxy, or control over other people. And I don't know, that's how they get their kicks, or that's how they that's how they get through the day or empower themselves. But it's pretty sick, pretty gross that all the power and control people feel they need, or people want to exert, just by depriving other people of the things that they love.
Well, people are talking about pussified settings, this and that and the other. I've got an Oriental Adventures setting there that's not pussified, that I'm putting out in the chat. It's Black Tokyo. That's about as dark and not pussified as you get, and it's pay what you want. So there you go, guys. There's one to check out for you. Definitely guaranteed to be not politically correct. Well, gosh.
Well, does
I'm not sure.
anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
Was there any stuff from the chat?
I think Ironcaster wanted to know where Vengercon was held. I believe it was in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's over in Michigan, so maybe he'll hit the next one.
Yeah.
I think he also challenged you to say something nice about 4th edition.
Oh yeah, somebody did.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, let's go around the panel on that one, okay? We'll just take it panel by panel. Okay, basic expert, say something nice about 4th edition.
Well, that was my entry into the hobby, so I'm grateful for that. And then,
There you go.
obviously I moved on from there, but I would, walking into a game store, that looks fun, and starting there. So wouldn't be here without it.
Okay, well, that is a good thing. Victor?
I never played it, but everyone that did, they tell me that it was actually really good for like tactical combat.
Yeah, it was. Green Gay?
It's my favorite edition.
Are you serious?
I'm not a big D&D guy, so yeah.
Clearly.
Grim?
I didn't have to buy it because I won signed copies of the core books.
Lucky bastard.
And if I'm forced to say something else positive about it, Fighters had a multiple number of things to do.
Venger?
Can I say something nice about it that's also in other editions too?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think ascending AC is great. I don't see myself ever going back to descending armor class, even for nostalgic purposes. Oh, and another thing is that it drove so many people away from D&D that D&D was forced to create 5th edition the way they did, which was more old school than, say, 3rd edition, 3.5, and 4th edition. So for that alone, and then that gave us things like advantage and disadvantage, which I think is genius.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for all those reasons, 4th edition doesn't entirely suck.
Okay. Well, the nicest thing I could say about 4th edition is they're not printing it anymore.
Yeah.
Come on, we made an effort.
You made an effort. Okay. I did actually play 4th edition once. What can I say about it? I mean, it's like, okay, first off, let's see, there's no role play in it whatsoever.
But those 3-hour combats.
Yeah. That's pretty much all it is. Just one long combat session after another.
Yeah.
I guess the nicest thing I could say about 4th edition would be it broke down a lot of what used to be niche protection between the characters, so you no longer had to have a dedicated healer and stuff like that. Matter of fact, if you were, I was already prepared ahead of time. I was thinking, oh, Venger may not want to come on today. He may be too wiped out from the con, so he may cancel on us. Obviously, that was before I checked in with you, but the topic today was going to be niche protection and how important is niche protection to your game. But that's.
I would say not very. I just fall back, especially when I'm running online games, virtual games like on Roll20. I just fall back on my own home system, my own hack of old school and 5th edition, the Crimson Dragon Slayer D20. And there's only 4 classes. There's like thief, cleric, sorcerer, and fighter. And so, I don't care. I think the players care after they actually start playing and get into it. If there's, a party of 4, if there's 1 sorcerer and 3 warriors, or if you have 1 of each, or you have 2 thieves and 2 clerics, I don't think it matters that much. Maybe it's because I value like role playing, like social interaction and exploration, just as much, if not more, than combat, and so it doesn't really become a problem for me or the people I play with. But I can play a different game than mainstream D&D players do. So I don't know. I can't speak for them.
I think everybody kind of has their own style with it. And it's fun to see what other DMs will do for their thing. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine you doing silly voices and stuff for all your NPCs, but maybe you do.
Not for all the NPCs. I do try to do some voices for certain characters, but half the time I kind of default to my normal voice. But every once in a while, yeah, I break out either a silly voice or an overly, cool voice, like the deep voice of, like a Darth Vader if he was a wizard or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Something a little bit more like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then if this is one of my main gripes with that, if the players start like a conversation and they want to know more details and they want you to expound on whatever, so you have to like come up on the spot with what your reply is, and then you have to do it in a certain voice and with certain like mannerisms and language, and it becomes a lot, and it's just easier to just like do your normal voice. But sometimes, yeah, I'll break out an extraordinarily, different voice or vocalization, and I'll try to match that with the words that they would say. And it's rewarding when it is done correctly and you pull it off. But you know what? A great example for those that still remember Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
So when Deckard is talking to that replicant broad in her dressing room, and he starts out with like his contrived voice because he's doing like a different character. He's trying to be someone else. And then halfway through, he's like trying to remember like the legal protocols, and then he just like kind of goes into his normal voice. It's like, have you ever been subjected to people that were doing something against your person, and I've experienced that myself, so I know exactly what that's like, and yeah.
I can understand it.
I generally don't do voices just because I think some people don't feel comfortable with the whole actor thing. And so when they see you and others just being like, well, my character says in an angry voice that blah, 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 it can make people feel like, oh, good, I don't have to be a voice actor.
I always hated the whole, my character does this, my character does that. I usually get a little irritated until people's like, okay, don't say my character. What are you doing? You're supposed to be inhabiting your character. But
you could do that too. Like, well, I say then angrily or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easier if you have a few stock voices, or you think of an actor or a character from some other media that's close to the NPC.
Yeah.
That's like a mental shortcut. That's quite useful.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Exactly.
I have a few NPCs who use George Takei voice, and they are usually very recognizable.
I have a potentially contentious question, so I shall ask it, and then we may have some room for some nicer questions afterwards. So, like me, like a lot of other people, you've been really put off by a lot of the propagandizing that's gone on in a lot of games. But aren't you guilty of doing the same thing from a different perspective when it's come to your two most recent, most controversial releases, where it's been fairly club-handedly about abortion and LGBTQ stuff? So aren't you doing the same thing that we have complained about with the kind of artless propagandizing that goes on in a lot of games?
On the one hand, yes. I suppose it would be easy to just be like, I blame Trump.
Yeah.
Because in a certain sense, he showed us the way to fight back. I guess I've never said this before. It just came to me, but Trump is like the John Connor of politics, American presidential politics, or even just American politics, because he showed us how to fight back and how to win. I know he didn't win the last election because of reasons, honk honk. But Trump was a fighter, and he did it with a song in his heart and a smile on his face. He was usually pretty funny about it, and he didn't pull punches. He didn't worry about, is this really being fair, or am I being kind of hypocritical here? He just kind of went for it, and he got his hands dirty, and he did what he had to do to stop the left from running over us, running over him. And I guess I kind of internalized that, and that was my own way of trying to fight back against the radical leftism and the woke ideology and the critical race theory and all this other stuff, Marxism, all this other stuff. So yeah, in a certain way, yeah, I'm just as guilty, but I'm doing it to, not get swept down the river and eventually drown. So I feel like I'm justified.
Kind of your way of taking the piss out of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand that.
And while some of especially the last couple things, but I throw pop culture references in other things. I take pot shots even with older material in Schultz and such, and even going back to the Purple Islands. But still, I feel like I'm not messaging, and that's it. There's still a lot of gameable content surrounding whatever message I put in there. Even if the message is heavy-handed or blatant or way too obvious, it's still in service of like a cool adventure or a neat idea or a gameable concept. So I'm saying I'm not just messaging and like, well, buy my product because you like the message or you like me. Like, buy the product because it has this message, but also surrounding it is this really cool adventure scenario setup.
Yeah, I can understand that. When I pick up a game, it's not because I necessarily like who made it or agree with who made it. I have copies of My Farog, and it's not because I love Varg Vikernes. Matter of fact, I'm friends with people who know the guy intimately and have told me what a dick he really is. Norwegian guys, but I don't care about what the guy did, what his politics are, anything like that. I wanted to see whether or not the guy could actually write a good game or not. And I got my answer. It's like, yeah, game wise, it's not bad. It's got some good things to it. It does have some racist subtext to it, for sure. But other than that, it's kind of like if you can get past that, then you have a halfway decent Nordic themed game. And I would do the same for anyone's stuff. I mean, if I was actually interested in Thirsty Sword Lesbians, I would pick up a copy just to see if the game itself was any good. Obviously, I don't agree with Evil Hat Productions or any of their politics and any of their bullshit. But if they have a good game or something worth stealing, then why not take a look? But, I haven't seen anything or heard anything that moves me to want it. So, my sole basis for rejecting picking up a piece of RPG material. And honestly, I think that's the end consumer's only real, concern as far as, whether or not they pick up something. It shouldn't be because, I agree with Grimm's policies or I disagree with Venger's policies and all this shit. It's like, who cares? Right. They're not sitting there next to the, Venger doesn't come with a copy of his books spouting his stuff in your ear, and neither does Grimm. So, that would be kind of cool. Let me, buy this book from Grim Jim. Have Grim Jim show up at your house and tell you about leftist politics.
Game police, freeze.
Yes.
I live in the United States. You know how expensive a book like that would be for me to fly Grim all the way out here?
I know. No kidding.
So there's an idea for your next Kickstarter, Grim.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, also not to start shit, Grim, with you, but I saw like a sample from your Kaiju RPG that you wrote, and there was definitely stuff in there that could be construed as like, those are like your personal politics, like coloring things. So I think,
I am in favor of giant monsters destroying cities.
Well, no, just like some of the factions and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to kind of fall into that trap. So
I think it's true to an extent for anyone that your personal beliefs and so on will color your work. But I think there's a difference between that and deliberately going out to put the message, front and center.
Yeah.
Right. And then from a marketing perspective, I'm also, I admit that if I can generate a little bit of extra controversy to get more eyes on what I'm doing, I will. I don't have any moral problem with that. I'm a pretty small, independent self-publisher. So I kind of need all the help I can get. And
hostile marketing, you fucked that for all of us.
A, I haven't been that hostile in years. B, I think stuff came out where it was clear to a lot of people, at least people that dug a little deeper, that there were bad actors that offended Drive-Thru RPG a lot more than I did. I think I was the most recognizable target when people were like, "Oh, hostile marketing, that's absolutely Venger." But it came out that people, publishers that use that platform, went out of their way to really disparage Drive-Thru or One Bookshelf, and gave them a hard time. My hard time is I come up with content that people might be offended by, and I just don't care if they're offended or not. But some people downright accused Drive-Thru of, shady business practices, and they lied. They lied about what Drive-Thru was doing behind the scenes. They falsely said that Drive-Thru, One Bookshelf, was doing A, and they were clearly doing B. And I wasn't part of any of that. I don't even know the people that were doing that. But I heard that, because it eventually came out days after they released that hostile marketing spiel, that the Drive-Thru had been dealing with other bad actors that weren't me, that really, screwed them up and put the screws to them. And then, of course, now we find out that the merger between One Bookshelf and Roll20, I'm sure that played a role, that they were trying to pin down their protocols, so there wouldn't be as much nonsense going forward, because I'm sure Roll20 didn't want to get involved in that.
Well, we've covered Roll20, I think, on Week in Geek before, and what their politics are like, and what their president is like. So, yeah, I can imagine they had they had some pretty strong, things to include in the deal before they went through with DTRPG because
that was 2 weeks ago. Not the last Saturday, the one before that, because I was there for it.
Yeah. So it's like,
so I'll take a little bit of the blame of the heat, but I'm definitely not like 100% to blame for Drive-Thru coming out with hostile marketing. Maybe like a third, but not
all of it, just most.
There is some tit for tat reporting.
You should work on your math there. Whoever said that,
it's Kringe.
Because
I'm the only one here that doesn't sell things, so I can say what I want.
If you think a third equals most, you're worse at math than I am.
Yeah, I don't do math.
That's really
bad.
You should go back to
I just yell numbers and throw dice. That's how I play
throw dice at people.
That's number Wang.
Oh. Yeah. Ultimately, I think a lot of the new policies that they enacted are mostly the result of their merger with Roll20 and Roll20's politics, because Roll20 has already straight up told people, hey, we don't want to work with you because, you're white guys. So if that doesn't say everything.
I think that's everything is by 2024. A lot of this is going to change and going to change back. I think even more woke companies are going to go broke, or maybe not broke, but they're going to leave so much money on the table that they're going to realize that putting all their eggs in that basket is just a terrible idea. And there's a cultural rebellion has already started, and it's just going to grow stronger. The entire culture is about to shift again away from the revolutionary type policies and mindset to something a little closer to normal, like say the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But that's on its way. A lot of people can see it coming, but it's going to get more so, I think, by 2023. And then by 2024, woke is going to be the equivalent of like the hippies in those Freedom Rock commercials. It's like Freedom Rock, man, where they've got like the purple shades and the bell bottoms and the long hair and the 70s shirt. In 2 years from now, woke people will look like those people did to us back in the 90s. That makes sense.
It does.
You can hope. I definitely feel like they overplayed their hand a little, because even my normie mom, who's like almost 70, she complains about woke stuff now.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother was so confused and upset whenever I explained to her what Latinx was and
Latinx.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how they want it pronounced. It's just so weird.
Maybe it's LA Tinks. It's a gang of Hispanic fairies that hang out in Los Angeles.
Hey, vato, we're going to put this up your culo.
The Los Angeles Tinkerbell gang.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I always joke that it sounds like the hacker name of like some Mexican hacker. It's like, I'm Latinx, the notorious hacker.
Yeah,
it does actually. Maybe I should put that in my next Cyberpunk RPG. So this hacker named Latinx,
or Linux, but for Hispanic.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, I have to take one more question or accusation before I have to go, and then I gotta go. I gotta get these books out.
I understand.
I've already got people like, Venger, where's my book? I'm like,
I'm one of those guys.
I just got it on Wednesday, and then I had that convention, so I'm just getting to it now, dude. Like, hold your horses.
Okay. I want to sign.
Yeah, if anybody has like a last thing that they want to ask me or say, go for it.
I'll let my panel take it because Expert and Kringe and you guys haven't asked a whole lot of questions, so I want to make sure you guys get yours in.
I honestly, I'm only here because you yelled at me and told me to be here. I really had nothing to like. I'm not an OSR guy. I don't play D&D.
I have one, I guess. It's relevant to you've kind of been making games for a while, and you obviously get books printed yourself and ship them out yourself. Do you obviously prefer that way rather than trying to just upload it to like a POD source? Is it just easier? Is it less of a headache? Or
having books printed up?
Yeah, like you obviously get the pallets, you store them and ship them out yourself. Like, is that a nightmare? Is that nightmare worth make it worth it better in comparison to the POD side and all that kind of stuff?
Ask his wife.
Yeah. For her, it's a nightmare. For me, it's a hassle, but it's worth the hassle. I went all the way from like inexpensive layout and black and white art and layout, PDFs and print on demand, and then it took me a couple of years, and I got like nicer layout and better art, and then I went to full color. Well, and then there was a period of time when there was kind of like black and white and like a few pieces of color, and then I went full color, and not only print on demand through drive-through, but also Amazon. And then with Chalt, I saw what some of the OSR content creators were doing, like Zach and a few other people that kind of had their own like hardcover fancy limited edition lamentations with like Carcosa, and I kind of wanted that for myself. And yeah, since Chalt, I don't think I've put out any print on demand titles. I think from now on, if I'm going to do something, I want to kind of do it big and fancy. And so it's definitely a better product. And if you have the marketing in place and you can sell, you will make more money. For instance, getting like a short print run where the books cost you like, say, $16 a book, and then you can turn around and sell it for like 40 or something like that. Your profit margin is there. The downside is that it takes a little more screwing around, and then you've got to keep all those, and then you have to ship them out yourself. You can't just rely on drive-through RPG to do it for you, or Amazon. So I think it's rewarding enough to do and keep doing, but it's not for everybody. It's more intensive. There's more cost up front. Not too many people, unless they have a successful Kickstarter, can drop $20,000 on 1,000 books, and then spend the next 2 or 3 years selling them out of his basement.
Yeah.
So, and with that being said, thank you very much for having me on.
Hey,
and,
my pleasure.
And everybody for participating and asking questions and listening. It was a very fun discussion.
Thanks.
Yeah. I would just say, if you want some Chalt books, this is the third book in the trilogy. You got your PDFs, and then of course you got your fancy hardcover. Grim, on his channel, he's got some nice flip through reviews of both the first book, Chalt, and Chalt Fuchsia Malaise. So you can check those out. I don't know if Grim's interested in reviewing this giant monster, 360 pages, but if he is,
yeah, I
can send one to you too.
I will.
Yeah, same address.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, Venger. Thanks for bringing on, man. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Thanks for having me.
All right, you take care.
You too.
All right, man. He was a lot of fun, guys. I think we tend to have some really good guests. I do have a really quick question on here. I could probably address. I think we could all probably address this one. Omanal asks, how do you think the economy will impact RPG companies? Snortopupus had a really good answer for him. You know, this is beyond the basic issue of people having less money to spend on hobbies. There will probably be serious backlash against the companies who have been virtue signaling their politics. I would agree. I would agree, but I will add to that. Something Grim and I actually have seen just recently is, you know, the two of us both picked up the Goblin Slayer RPG. And what's nice about it is for $20 and a very small footprint as far as the size of the book, you have a complete system right there in your hands. You know, you don't have to buy an extra monster manual. You don't have to buy an extra DMG. You don't have to buy an extra player's handbook. You get the whole thing, and it's right there. It's $20. So I think games that have a lower entry cost will probably do better.
Yeah, it's definitely making me think about my releases after Whitechester, because the trend up until now has been for these kind of very boutique, high-cost Kickstarter things with tons and tons of art in it, while the Goblin Slayer TTRPG is kind of like the opposite. It's cheap paper, hardly any art.
Down and dirty.
Yeah, $20, small form factor, which I've always loved since Dragon Warriors anyway.
Same.
So yeah, a kind of return to the Palladium model, I guess. I mean, they've always sold their stuff relatively cheap and didn't do hardback covers for ages and didn't do full color for ages. You know? So I think that's part of it. To actually answer for myself, I think role-playing, I'm old enough and I've been in the business long enough that I've been through recessions. Role-playing as a hobby tends to be fairly recession-proof, at least going on past experiences. It's relatively cheap. You get a lot of bang for your buck. I do think as belts tighten, like people have said, people might be less likely to spend money on people who've insulted them or called them shitty people or cast aspersions. So we might see a bit of a tightening there. That going on past form. That's
another
how
thing.
go.
You'd probably still have sales of RPGs, but it would be just core rules. All the supplements and stuff wouldn't get sold. People would just buy, say, the core rule book for a game they want to play with their group, and that's it.
That's why
everything else is free.
That's why the Goblin Slayer book, it kind of the way I don't have it, but the way you explained it, it kind of reminds me of the Rules Cyclopedia, which I think is one of the greatest RPG products ever because it's just everything you need in one book.
That's second best edition.
Yeah.
Another benefit is that there's you can get stuff in different formats. So if you can't put the money forward to buy a $40 physical book, you can always get the PDF for maybe 10, 15, whatever.
And the OSR I think will definitely help because a lot of it's crossover friendly. I could get something for basic fantasy and still run it in, say, Lamentations.
Yeah, and OSR folks tend to price point things lower. I mean, the thing about PDFs, a lot of companies, their PDFs aren't that much cheaper than their hard copies.
Sadly,
which I've always felt is a mistake. Maybe we'll see some downward pressure on ebook sales. I hope so.
Yeah, I remember when ebooks first started, they were cheap, and then suddenly you're paying the same price.
Yeah,
I think it's more the third-party creators like us that do the cheap PDFs, not so much like the established companies.
Yeah,
because they know they can get away with it.
Well, Victor, since you have some books coming out, you should match the basic fantasy PDF prices.
They don't cost anything.
In fact, you should pay us to take them.
I mean, I am gonna make a free version. I'm thinking without art and maybe a little bit stripped down, kind of like Stars Without Numbers and stuff does it. But yeah.
And Grim, if you like the Goblin Slayer TRPG, you also need to get the Konosuba TRPG.
I already did.
Did you? Okay.
And another one. I went on a rampage of buying translated Japanese RPGs because I hadn't looked into it for about 6 months.
What else did you get?
There's I forget the name of the other one, but it's one where you don't play adventurers, you play like townspeople.
Oh wow! Okay, I want to know
fantasy roleplay.
Kind of, but with an anime twist. But I'll be reviewing those, obviously.
Yeah, I seen your review. You said it was based on what was it? Sword. I can never remember the name of that.
Sword World.
Sword World.
Sword World. Yeah, that's the Lodos War RPG. The official setting for that is Lodos.
Cool.
It is.
I saw you respond, T-shirt, to that guy that was like, "Why was this made? Like, we already have D&D." And I'm like, "What? Like, Japan isn't allowed to have their own tabletop
No.
system? Like, come on."
That was
Yeah.
Kukurio. He's a great
Yeah.
artist, and he's normally pretty based, as the kids say. But yeah, he was a bit off on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was just trying to run it down just to get his name up there or what, but
Yeah.
that was a.
I don't know. He likes Goblin Slayer. He's done fan art of Goblin Slayer. So
Really? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I don't get his deal. Was he just pants on head that day?
Yeah, he just wanted, he wanted to get his name out, like Grim said.
Oh,
People
okay.
to
Well,
see what he was saying.
he did. I guess some people really do subscribe to that whole negative attention is still attention, but
Well, at the end of the day, D&D is a very American and then to a certain degree European thing. But like even Germany, they like prefer the Black Eye over D&D for the most part. So like there's some nationalities have their own preferred systems, and that's fine. That's allowed.
So, Second Ed D&D did have a great Japanese release that was all anime style art. Throughout, which was great.
I've seen that once or twice, and it was actually really good.
Yeah. Basic Expert. At the beginning of the show, I did throw out a congratulations on hitting 1,000 subs, but now that you're here in person, I'm going to congratulate you in person for getting 1,000 subs. Good job, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but I did it somehow. So
yeah, great job.
And if you're watching and you're not already subbed, go and sub.
Yes.
And if you aren't subbed to me, please do, because I'm still climbing that ladder to 1,000. So I'm halfway there.
I still haven't done anything to celebrate my 5K. I really need to get off my ass and figure something out.
You need to run a. Actually, you know what you could do? You could run a Goblin Slayer game since Ash has it and I have it. And apparently, a lot of other people are picking it up on my recommendation too. So you have a ready-made audience.
All right, we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, I'm hoping Expert can get monetized now because I need to write those coattails.
I don't know. Don't be so sure. I'm trying to ride Grimm's and he's monetized. So.
Yeah, and it's not working.
But you have separate channels. I'm on Expert's channel.
I thought you have a channel too, though, Victor. I just caught you yesterday.
Well, yeah, but I need to actually like pick a day and do like regular streams. I just do like, okay, I feel like streaming today. Like, let's see
Victor
who shows
keeps
up.
inviting me to his stream, and then he never streams.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out today. I really do appreciate it. And special thanks out to Venger for making some time to hang out with us. I'd been wanting to get him on here since last year, so I'm glad to finally get it. And we've had some really good guests this year. We've had some really good guests last year. I mean, I'm really happy to have this channel, and I'm really happy to be able to talk to my gaming friends and peers and the people who got me into gaming and have kept me going in gaming. And I'm sad that some of them won't be able to attend because they've passed on. So unfortunately, I'll never have like Greg Stafford on here. Mm-hmm. But hey, hopefully Mike Pondsmith will come on someday. I keep hoping somehow someone will get word of, hey, Mike, that guy T-shirt historian keeps wanting you to get on his channel.
You know what will happen? Him and Faderhead will offer to appear on your channel both on the same day, but that's the only day they've got available.
Well, they both have the same hour, so it's not like you can split them up.
Nope, I'd totally put them both on at the same time. I think it would be a hoot, especially since apparently Faderhead is a Cyberpunk fan too. So that would just be I could die happy then. So that would totally be it'd be like, okay, we did this show. Okay, at the end of the show, T-shirted fell dead. But he died with a smile on his face.
So does that mean Victor's in charge? I mean, Grim's got his own YouTube channel.
Yeah,
that's true.
It makes sense. If T-shirt pops his clogs, then Victor can step into them.
Yeah,
being Dutch.
No, you know what I would do? I'd pass my channel over to Squeaka because she needs a channel. She needs to get more involved in the TTRPG stuff anyway, because she's really great, and she downplays herself a lot. But anybody who's been on a stream with her for long enough knows that she's a really smart lady, and she's very savvy.
Get her to run the Sailor Moon RPG.
Yeah, we should. All right. Well, guys, thank y'all for being here today, and I appreciate y'all. Hopefully we'll see you again next Tuesday, which if I don't have a special guest, I think we will talk about niche protection.
That actually
I'm
sounded
curious
interesting.
about that. That's something that's been interesting for me for a while now, is how important is it? But until then, bye for now. Thank y'all for hanging out with us.
Look, a Dungeons and Dragons ride!